We finally reached the main event. We have finally reached the main event. I mean, god dang. Here we go with Kenya letting everybody know I ain't the one to be played with. Well, I guess not everybody, but Miss Brittany. Miss Brittany, you wanted the Kenya experience, and who did you get it? Okay. Y'all, you already know what we talking about. We're Housewives of Atlanta. We finally have reached, I'm gonna assume, the middle of the season. And we have finally reached, I guess this is Kenya's last episode. I don't know if she's gonna be on next episode, but there are definitely a lot of things we need to break down. So let's go ahead and get into it. Firstly, really quick too, before we get into the episode, I just want to apologize that I missed part 1 of the reunion of Beverly Hills Housewives. Your girl was we'll just say a little bit distracted and discombobulated, had a lot of things going on. So I apologize for missing the part 1, but I'll be there for part 2 because I definitely need to get into Miss Garcelle, because girl, you should have been swinging them hoes every which way loose, okay? But we'll worry about you another time. But today we're gonna talk about Kenya and how she swung Brittany from chandelier to chandelier. Okay, she was swinging Brittany. Okay, so yeah, if you're new to my channel, hey, how you doing? What's up? Thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and make sure you hit that like button. Go ahead and drop a like in the collection plate. Okay, it does your girl wonders in the algorithm. That's I'm gonna let you know. Ain't on a secret. It helps your girl in the algorithm. Okay, all right. Okay, now let's go ahead and get into the episode. All right. So we open up with Miss Shamia. Shamia, roll call. Okay, Miss Shamia invites over Miss Angie and speaking of Miss Brittany Bad About It, Miss Bad About It, Brittany Edie. So first Angie comes over. You know, they have are now in truce. They are good with each other. Brittany comes over because Shamia wants to get to the nitty gritty. Girl, what happened? Like, what was that? Angie was confused. Everybody was confusion. So, Brittany comes over and she's pulling this. Oh my God. You know, I hadn't slept. You know, I couldn't go to bed last night. It was just, I couldn't sleep. Yeah, I bet. Well, all that dramatic ass stuff you was doing. So, Angie was like, well, shoot, I've been dealing with catching a lot of heat, you know. And Brittany's like, what do you mean? Everybody's like, what you mean? She was like, girl, I'm catching heat from the owners of the building. I said, oh, not the owners of the building. The owners of the building, did they hear it? Like, I wonder what the owners of the building heard or witnessed or anything, because you know, they already trying to get rid of the stigma of being in the hood over there in the banks, okay? And now you got Brittany out here talking about gra-ta-ta-ta, you know, like it's shatas. But Brittany's like, well, who do I need to apologize to? Girl, you don't need to do nothing else. So Brittany now is doing you know, I'm realizing that maybe I did too much, and you know, I just, you know, should have let it go. It should have never gotten that far. I just regret everything. And so Shamia is asking, like, girl, what even was it? Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, okay, I get it. You know, one thing about me, I don't like being cut off. So, like, I'll give you that much. But, girl, you was at the table shot from 1 to 100. Like, what is it? And she was like, you know, Kenya, she just does that thing where she was just like cutting me off, and she was just being so disrespectful. Like, I don't play that. And it's just like, okay, like disrespectful. And every time they do the playback, there is not really a playback of anything that Brittany, that happened to you that was just so god awful that, you know, justified the reaction that you gave. Like, the math wasn't mathing, honey. So now Shamia is like, you know, what does this mean? Like, are you I think you should apologize to Kenya. And she's like, you know, I'm going to, because, you know, I was definitely doing too much. And, you know, I shouldn't have never taken that far, you know. And so Shamia's like, girl, and they talking about, girl, you brought the blicky on you. And, like, what is that? And she was like, you know, I think I did say that or whatever. And, you know, I should have never that, because I don't want anybody to think that I genuinely would want to hurt them, or that I'm threatening them. Yeah, you was doing some threatening, all right, to sit there and act like, oh, I would never want Kenya to feel like I was purposely trying to intimidate her. Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were. Because you were literally, Kenya had no reaction to you the whole time that you were going off, Brittany. You absolutely were trying to like antagonize her, intimidate her, all of those things. But it's like now you realize you look goddamn stupid because you was really in an argument with yourself. Okay? Like you was arguing with the mirror. Like nobody was fighting back. So at this point, Shamia's like, well, are you going to go to her event? I think it was. And she was like, yeah, I haven't been uninvited. So, like, I'm just going to go apologize. I really want to let her know that I don't mean her any harm. I really regret doing all that. Okay, Buki. So, moving on. Angie, speaking of, she ends up meeting with her daughter, Amori. And the conversation starts off with her, I guess Amori wants to get into the coffee business or something like that. She was, I guess I am like Angie. She was like, girl, this tastes just like I could have made it out of my Keurig. And that's how I be feeling. It is rare that I'm like out there just buying coffee from Starbucks or any coffee shop. I ain't spending $5 on a small coffee. I ain't doing it. Sorry. Especially every day of the week. Some of you hoes got a caffeine addiction that is too expensive, okay? In this economy, not on duty. So, yeah, she's speaking with her daughter, and then I guess an incident happened between Amari and her mom and her sister. So, from what I'm gathering, from what Amari said, is she was very, she definitely was a little passive aggressive with how she was saying it too. She was like, I went over there to borrow the car that you paid for, that you helped with, and they basically freaked out on me. Like they had a problem with it. And your sister came after me, calling me a demon. Like it was just too much. Like I don't even know what it is. Like, and it's so crazy because like I helped them out, like you helped them out, like this is so ridiculous. And so from what Angie stated, I guess she bought the home for her mom, but Amari was staying with them. From my understanding is what I'm guessing. Amari was staying in that house. So I'm assuming that's what she means like by helping, because she was paying, I'm sure a little fee to kick it at the crib or whatever. But then she moved out. And Angie lets us know that her mother actually suffers from bipolar. And I'm going to let you know, as a person who understands bipolar very well and has, mental family who's dealt with mental health issues, it is one high to a low to another. It's just, especially if they are unmedicated, it can be a lot, So I can imagine what the daughter probably was going through. But also, Amari, the way you said borrowing the car that you paid for, did you just walk over there and just like grab the keys and leave, like, or try to grab the keys and not ask nobody, not say nothing because you felt like, well, my mama paid for it, so why didn't I ask you for? Because if you did it like that, then it's like if your mom let's say your mom bought your grandmother the car, because that's what I'm thinking, that's what I'm recalling. She bought the car for her grandmother, and you feel like, well, I'm just gonna take the keys because my mom paid for it. Like, yeah, I can see why that maybe kind of, causing a little tiff, but she was just moving from that to like, it's just too much in this family. Like, why didn't she show up? Because, this would have been a time for us to finally get it out on the table and, move over it or whatever. But like, it's just too much. And then like, for me to be called names, and Angie was like, I didn't know all that. Like, I didn't know that all of that, ensued. So yes, I'll definitely be talking to my sister, sorry, y'all. I'll definitely be talking to your grandmother about that, because like, you're my daughter and I'm always, gonna be there for you. Speaking of be there for you, why the hell didn't you tell me you were married? Come to find out, y'all, the daughter that is 24 is married for 4 months and didn't tell her mama. And they supposed to be close, especially since her father passed away at a young age. They thick as thieves. And so now Angie's feeling like, why didn't you tell me? And she was like, Oh, so they really were trying to throw me under the bus. I guess I'm in the mama in trying to get back at the daughter and possibly, you know, being facetious was like, and that's why your daughter married, you know, and you don't know probably, and being upset about the car situation. But it don't take away from the fact that, Imara, you didn't tell your mama for 4 months. And she's like, why didn't you tell me? And then for your answer to be, I just didn't tell you. Like, it just didn't come up. Come on now. Come on now.
Yes.
And it just didn't come up. Like, I just didn't tell you. That's not something you just don't tell somebody, especially your mom that you're super close to. So what is it about this nooka that you are married, that you're married to, that you clearly know your mama would not agree with? Mama, it's time to get the investigators on the line. You need to start digging into everything that is about this nooka that she's married to. Because any woman who runs off, especially at 24, how old is he? Do he got kids? Like, literally just sound the alarms. Don't none of this sound good. And the fact that she's like, now she like, Angie's crying, and she was like, you know, it really just kind of seems like you're confused. Like, I don't know why you're acting confused as to why I'm upset. Like, you act like I'm not supposed to be upset about this. She was like, well, no, you're allowed to feel that way, but like, you know, it's why is everybody making a bigger deal than it has to be? Like, why is everybody you know, like, it's not a big deal to me, so why is it a big deal to y'all? Well, no shit, Sherlock, it's not a big deal to you because you're the one who got married. But to think that your family is not supposed to be pissed off in the way of finding out that you're married 4 months, like, being married for 4 months just doesn't come up. It's not like a thing that just doesn't come up. You seen your mama multitude of times, and you could have told her in the past 4 months, girl, like, let's stop it. And then this is where I started to see Amari, where you playing little slick games too, and emotionally manipulating your mama, because here you start with the tears, crying. It's just too much. It's just too much. Girl, what you crying for? What you crying for? Now it's starting to feel like you want to cry to back your mama up off of you because you know you did something effed up. You know you did something that was foul play. Like, I don't know, when she started crying, I really was just looking like, bitch, what you crying for? Like, your mama absolutely has a right to be upset. And like, you crying because you know you did something way out of line, out of whack. Like, man, F that. Like, for 4 months you didn't say nothing? 4 months, it just didn't come up? Man, sorry, Amari, I'm not buying it. Y'all drop down in the comments. Do y'all feel like when the daughter started crying, I don't know, part of it was just giving emotional manipulation, like she was just trying to back her mom up off of her, especially for the fact that her words were, you know, like, I don't know why it's such a big deal to y'all, like, it's not a big deal to me. Excuse me. No. Check, please. So they ended up leaving. And so now it's in this situation of like Angie dealing with her mother who has mental health issues. I'm assuming her sister also stays at that house. And with her being financially responsible for basically that, you know, Amari's also asking too, like, why do you keep taking care of them? You know, you shouldn't be doing that. But Angie's been kind of encroached with this responsibility from her own grandmother. Her grandmother is the one that told her, you know, make sure you take care of your mom, you know, because she's been having these mental health issues. So yeah, that situation itself definitely needs to get dug into a lot more. All right, y'all, your girl is back. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of a delay, but let's go ahead and get back into this episode. So I just got done finished talking about Amari. Angela's story is literally like an episode, to be honest. So I think there definitely needs to be a lot more dug into that situation. And Amari, you really got some nerve talking about cut off her family and you still getting help. You married, but still getting help. Make that make sense. So whatever dude you with, whatever nuke over there that probably got kids, I'm sitting here talking about a dude. What if she gay? She could be a kissing lesbian. Who knows? But nonetheless, you know, don't sit there and act like you didn't do what you did. Like, cause 4 months, miss me with that. But moving on. So, from one disgrace of an action to another, we meet with old Peach Juice, okay, and Brittany. Brit basically is doing her rounds of apology, you know, after, you know, the night that happened at the banks, you know, she's going back to talk to Portia, and she's basically trying to tell Portia, like, it was Kenya's way of being real passive aggressive, and she was talking to me like, ooh, is that your wedding ring? And Portia in the confessionals pretty much saying what everybody else was saying, like, Brit, you keep recounting events and nobody else saw it the way you saw it. Because in that same scene in which Kenya was talking to Brittany, there were like 2 other people who were sitting next to her, and it didn't get all like that. Like, she really concocted this whole fight in her head. And I hate to say Delulu, but just giving Delulu. Like, it's literally like you're fighting with yourself. But she was determined to come on and make this thing about Kenya. And truthfully, honestly, y'all, if you ask me, like I said in one of my first reviews of the season, it is giving Brit is pulling a NECA. NECA, came on, with her eyes set on Wendy. And I definitely think producers hyped her up to have her eyes set on Wendy. And I think this is the same exact situation. I think Brit came on wanting, the Kenya Moore that she's been talking about, the reputation precedes her. She wanted that Kenya Moore. And so production, fan that flame, just go ahead, we'll fan that flame. Go ahead, girl. We'll fan you on. And now here it is. You done lit Kenya. And when I tell you Kenya burned everything down, including herself, unfortunately, she burnt it down. All right. So I really think in her efforts to try to make a moment for the season, or to try to, get to put herself in that position of being like that, she is shooting herself in the foot, because now you got people who ride with you, but at the end of the season, now people don't quit you anymore. So you got to understand, Brittany, this is a real flip-floppy ass show, okay? But Portia's talking to her, was like, Kenya's telling me that you said something about a pistol. Is that what you said? And of course, Brittany's saying, oh, I didn't have nothing on me. I shouldn't have did that. Like, it really wasn't a threat. Like, I wouldn't want her to think that she's, that I would want to endanger her. And so Portia was like, girl, if you were in the middle of an argument and somebody says, hey, I'll pull out my pistol or whatever, like, do you not think that they would take that like as a threat towards them? Yes, obviously. But at this point, Portia is kind of really trying to give her the benefit of the doubt with the, Kenya's reputation does precede her. I'm sure Brit's probably seen like, Kenya in action, and that's been in action versus her adversaries, people that she is against. But the problem is, Brittany, she don't know you for you to be an enemy. Like, you're not that important to her yet. You sitting there, oh, you didn't hug me. Girl, she don't know you. Like, I don't know you to be trying to give you these, big ass grandma hugs. Girl, you gonna get this nice little church pat on the back, and it's gonna be what it is. But as we see, it's a lot of people. Portia, unfortunately, Cynthia, after Watch What Happens Live, girl, Cynthia, you definitely need to get your wig tugged on a little bit. And that's all I got to say about that. But moving on. So we have a little quick scene with Angie and Mr. Charles Oakley. She's getting ready for the party, but basically she's filling him in on what happened at the banks. And explaining how Portia, how Shamia asked her, like, oh, you made up, what do you think about Portia, trying to bring up Charles. And basically Angie said, girl, I'm dating a celebrity, so like my DMs stay full of just nonsense, so ain't nothing she can say that could really just, turn my head. And so she's like, I know probably people think, Charles is a weak spot of mine, so for her to go after that, like, it's just real basically petty. And so she tells Charles basically how Portia was like, oh, Portia came to me at the party basically like, oh, I heard something about Charles, girl, like, shoot, I know a little something. And Charles was like, was she the feds or something? She FBI, let me know. Like, and so she was like, yeah, she was just somebody, she knew something about you. He was like, okay, let her know she barking up the wrong tree. She, as I say, she's shaking the wrong tree, okay? Charles had to let her know, Google me. Not once, but twice, bitch. Okay, Google me. And so he was like, well, what did you say? Like, did you check her? Like, you could tell Charles is just, I could imagine a tennis match with him. And I can imagine Angie, her mama, especially with her being unmedicated, mentally unstable and mentally stubborn are one and the same. So I could imagine they be cussing each other out back and forth. That's why they don't get along. So he actually goes downstairs because he's like, oh shit, I'm cooking. And she comes downstairs he had the nerve to be like, wash your hands. She's like, I did. Like, you completely missed washing hands. Like, he's definitely a little anal with the details. But she brings up her mom, speaking of it, was like, look, Charles, like, with my mom and my sister, he was like, don't bring that to me. He's like, you sitting there talking about your mom and your sister? Hell, I didn't even talk to my sister. Like, I ain't even called my sister yet. So, like, I don't want nothing to do with your family. Mine is stress enough. I ain't got time to be, trying to, I'm helping people out and I had something to do something for me and they can't do it. I wonder if Angie's family knows that they're getting helped out by Charles. Just like I wonder if Brit's sister knows that the money that Brit's giving her is from Mike, But, yeah, Charles, he definitely is 2 shots of whiskey away from canceling all of Real Housewives of Atlanta. You can tell he say anything he want with no qualms about whose feelings it hurts. Speaking of two shots of whiskey, we get to Kenya's event. Did I miss anything? Brit, Angie, Amari. Yeah, that's it. So we get to Kenya's event, y'all. Everything's nice. Kenya more hair care / spa. And, she's talked about how, it's been a little bit slow. And it really is crazy how last season they really did do Kenya dirty and not showing the process of her hair spa. Hold on, you guys. My tea might be a little bit cooled off now. I got this new vanilla chamomile, and then I mixed that with a little bit of Asian ginger tea that I got from the Asian market. So good. Vanilla chamomile chai. I think that's what it is. But yeah, nonetheless, Kenya's event. Brit is on the way with Kelly. At this moment, Kelly is ride or die team Brittany. Oh, I know what it was. Kelly, speaking of, she went over to Kenya's hair spa with Portia to help with picking out models for the hair show. And they're speaking about everything. And, Portia, girl, you heard that mess. And Portia's like, I didn't hear it. And Kelly's sitting there playing the same thing. I didn't hear it, girl. You was right next to Brittany. Shut up. And so Kelly at this moment is like, well, that's not the girl I know. Like, I promise she's not that bad. And like Kenya said, she might not be that bad to you, but I already can tell where this is going. This bitch want a problem with me, so like, let's make a problem. She want to talk about, pistols, whips, and chains. And it's time for me to do a background check. And Kelly's like, oh, you want to do a background check? You need to be checking on your employees. And, well, she gonna be doing background checks on her coworkers, okay? Because if you threaten me with a gun, okay, best believe that's when you got to go back and start filling up your arsenal, all right? So FBI background check it was, and which is why we got the information that we got, at Kenya's premiere day. And so you could tell Portia is really tiptoeing in and out of this mess when it comes to, trying to be, I don't know, like everybody's doing this like tiptoe in and out thing with Kenya and Brittany. And it's really honestly pissing me off. But while they're on the way, Kelly, is telling her like, girl, I'm gonna ride with you till the wheels fall off. Well, bitch, the wheels fell off. Okay, girl, you riding on hubcaps now because we see that Kelly and Brittany don't fix with each other no more. But on the way there, Brittany's talking about losing her aunt, and it's like, sorry for your loss, but that's not gonna make us, feel sorry for you and your actions. She ends up bringing some flowers. So everybody's showing up to the event. I loved Portia's dress. Kenya's outfit was super cute. Her hair was super cute. As she was getting ready, the shots was going, okay? She shows up and, is talking about how this event is for Brooklyn. I'm a boss, so I gotta show that Brooklyn's a boss. Everybody comes in and they do a hair show. Great idea. If you want to get foot traffic to your salon, I would suggest you start hosting hair shows, because hair shows is a super big thing in the Black community, especially with the Bronner brothers. One of my favorite old school movies is Hair Show with Monique. Was it Monique? Yeah, I think it was. So yeah, if you do like once a month hair shows or something like that, or you try to bring in new artists like hairstylists or whatever, you'll end up bringing foot traffic in. So yeah, I think that's something you should do. She does like the hand clap or whatever. So after that, Drew comes in and she's saying hey to everybody. And Portia is filling in Cynthia on basically what happened, and Cynthia's like, girl, I was gone for 5 minutes. I'm hearing, it's World War III, this bitch. It done turned into the ghetto. What's happening? What's happening? And so Portia was like, yeah, girl, Brittany lost it. She was sitting there talking about she was finna, pistol whip and everything, and so Cynthia was like a pow pow, like for real, like the blicky. She was like, girl, yes. And so she's like, that's so crazy, and so Shamia was right there, and they basically were talking about like, is she supposed to be coming today? And Portia's like, shoot, I don't think so. Like, I don't think she'll be comfortable enough to come, so I don't know about that. And Shamia's like, well, even if she came and tried to apologize, like, that doesn't mean Kenya has to accept her apology. And this is where I knew Portia knew about the plan. Portia said, well, I don't think Kenya would accept her apology because, when she gets in that space, there ain't no coming back. And that's where she's at right now. So it's making me feel like Portia knew about the plan. And if Portia, you knew about the plan, she definitely clearly didn't object or tell Kenya possibly, hey, you might want to rethink this, or she clearly either talked to the producers and they told her about what the plan was. Portia knew what was up. That point blank period. So Drew, like I said, Drew comes in and she tries to speak to everybody, tries to hug Portia. And she was like, girl, hey, I'm trying to be, she was like, I'm trying to be good to you or something like that. She was like, yeah, except for behind my back. And so Drew was like, oh, okay, that's how we feeling. Okay, we feel a little fresh today. All right. And so Drew was like, all right, Portia, like, let's just go ahead and get this out of the table. Like, it's been long enough. Like, I'm not screwing your baby daddy. I don't care. You the only one who want to grill his hot dog. Portia's like, oh, is that funny? How long did you think about that? She was like, girl, I'm in the middle of a divorce. You're in the middle of a divorce. Like, I don't want him. And so Portia's like, at the end of the day, like, use common sense, Drew. Use common sense. And she was like, Portia. And, Drew and Portia are playing the same exact game of playing dumb. And like the way they're playing dumb about the situation of like, well, I reached out to you. Portia's like, oh, you reached out to me? And Drew was like, yeah, didn't I reach out to you? I reached out to you, right? Portia's like, but did you reach out to me? Like after, she was like, remember after my birthday? After my birthday, I texted you. And so it's just kind of like they're literally doing the same exact thing to each other. But it's very obvious Portia is dragging this shit out because she ain't got nothing else going on this season after Simon hit her with the okie doke. So now when Drew's sitting there talking about like, Portia, we're both going through divorces. Like I'm going through divorce. We definitely need to get into your situation. Anytime somebody start bringing up that divorce or that man, when I tell you Portia disappears, she get gone, ghost. Too fast. It's like, Portia, how long do you think you really finna avoid this situation? You did what you did. You did what you did. What did he say? Close your legs to marry men, wench. So at this time, Brittany, Kelly show up, right? Brittany comes in with the flowers, and everybody's like, oh, hey, that's nice, trying to come in and be sorry. Some of them were shocked that she came. And so Kenya comes down from upstairs after she was, up there, prepping herself, get lit off that John Julio, Julio. Bitch, I call your motherfucking phone. That's how you do. Hey, y'all, that song, I'm telling you, I love that song. But yeah, Kenya was just up there, drinking, bitch, okay? And so when she comes downstairs, you know, she completely ignores Brittany, like literally ignores her. Who the hell is this calling me now? Hold on, y'all. All right, y'all, I'm back. Sorry, I got somebody calling me for a paid survey. Shoot, I did another couple little paid surveys, y'all. Got a little 150, 200. You know, I ain't mad at it. But back to business. So, like I said, Kenya comes downstairs, sees Brittany, and pays her. What she say? I pay her dust. Okay. Dust, y'all. So Brittany's like, well, basically that's my cue. She puts the flowers down, and here go Kenya. Excuse me, can I get everyone's attention? Now, rumor has it that allegedly Brittany was actually there for the madness, for the class, you know, presentation. But they edited as she had left and missed it. So I don't know which is which, if it's true or not, but at this moment, you know, she calls for attention. Can I get everybody's attention? So, you know, I want to thank everybody for being here today. You know, this shop has been a lot of work, and, you know, it just proves how much, you know, I am that bitch, will be that bitch, and always will continue to be that bitch. Okay. And, you know, people have always tried to do their best to take me down, you know, drag me down to the floor. And that is something I will not tolerate, you know. Then she was like, you know, so many people try to come after me, in particular, so much so that I have been threatened with a weapon, and I will not tolerate that. And for the nerve of people to come after me, you know, it just has me thinking, like, who do you think you are? So who do you think you are? And so now Kenya basically was like, well, I did my research to figure out who this girl really is. And so Exhibit A, she pulls out the first poster, and she literally is carrying it like how them, what they call them, the ring girls be carrying the posters around the ring. And so she's like, Exhibit A. She was like, you see who this is? Oh, I didn't even recognize who this is. You know, the lip fillers, you see the new nose, the new face. Shoot, that's just so crazy. Exhibit B. And she pulls out the next poster. It was like, who is this hoe? Turns out a video hoe. I mean, shoot, at least I was the leading lady. Everybody was like, Kenya. Portia was like, well, shoot, if this just the first one, what's the last one? Like, what is this finna be? Then she pulls out the last one and basically was like, ho, who is you? Ho, here she is. Pulled out the last one. This is who she is. Everybody's reaction was like, when I tell you, y'all, the more Kenya started pulling out the poster boards, the more I was just over there like, just hiding my face like, no, Kenya. No, Kenya, but you did it. And it's like, I ain't mad at her. I really feel like Kenya just, it was premature. This was premature. Kenya should have waited, not at her event. You know, for her to literally be like, who does the girl think she is? I'm paying her dust. That's what you should have did. Like, you should have like literally paid her, especially at your event. Had this been something in which you know, y'all had gone on a girls trip and she came after you, that's when you pull out the file papers and be like, oh, I know your history. Let me pull out the files. Let me go in the filing cabinets on this bitch. You know, that's how that should have been. But it's just really kind of like, dang, Kenya, like, you really let this girl scam you out your bag, sis. But really, I also think production low-key set her up too, because to have a whole poster board, somebody on the team, I'm sorry, prepared that, if you ask me. Because Kenya ain't make spend her time making no poster board. So I feel like there was a setup. I'm sorry, it definitely was a setup. But you know, Kenya basically was letting her know, like, you come to me, you want to start beef, but ho, why is you here?
Ho, why is you here?
You cannot step, peasants cannot step to the queen. So now everybody's reaction is like, damn, Kenya, like, Cynthia's like, girl, like, I love you, but you better than this. Like, I ain't even to sit here and watch no girl, you know, sucking a little dang thing. Like, you know, I ain't trying to see no girl with no dick in her mouth. And so all these people are just kind of like, Shameen was like, girl, Kenya, that's too much. She's like, no, it ain't. No, it ain't. She threatened me with a pistol. And she was like, shut up. And then she told Kelly went to go get the note from the flowers. She was like, nah, give the flowers to the homeless. I don't give a damn about that note. You stay out of it. Like, Kenya was on one. I'm sure the liquor was bubbling all up in her system, okay? But yeah, after that, Kelly decides to leave, and she was like, girl, you trying to shame somebody? Hell, we all wasn't, everybody got old hoe behavior. Shit, you used to hoe too. Like, it's fine, me. Everybody do got a history, you know? So, she goes outside. Portia was like, shit, I don't even want to look like I've been here. You know, I don't want nobody to think that, like, I condone that. Bitch, you knew about it first. You knew about it. I promise you, Portia knew about that shit. But nonetheless, you know, everybody's dipping, and that's kind of where it goes to the black screen, and it's like, Bravo, cease filming with Kenya Moore for the rest of the season. And it's really just kind of like, damn. Whoever's plan it was to get Kenya up out of here done worked it, and they used Brittany as the crux to do it. But Brittany, let me tell you something. This is like Project Runway, bitch. 1 minute you in, the next minute you out. So you might be feeling all high up off the hog, you know, for these next couple of episodes. But trust and believe. But it is really funny that Portia's hanging out with her now. Cynthia, she now is giving Brittany some type of like, oh, but you know, people make mistakes type of thing. You good? Hold on, y'all. That's cute. With shoes?
Yeah, I'm having to let that little green knit sweater.
I like the green though with it. Sorry, I'm helping my mom pick her outfit out for a track meet. So, yeah, so it definitely was a situation of like Kenya definitely got played out her square, and Brittany, you know, the fact that Cynthia, like everybody's being really fake with Kenya, like they tiptoeing in and out of trying to be best friends with both of them. And it's like, Cynthia, if you want to film with old girl, cause we get it for the show, cool, but like don't be going on Watch What Happens Live talking about, oh, you know, everybody makes mistakes. Both them hoes should have got at least an episode suspension, and then there should have been like an episode where there was like a big sit down, you know, in the middle, and it been like a conversation thing. Like that would have been a really good episode to have like this sit down, you know, between the two of them, you know, queen versus wannabe princess to the throne. You know, that's how they should have played it. But nonetheless, you guys, that was the episode. Y'all drop down in the comments. Y'all feel like Kenya should have waited with the information? You feel like Kenya should have not done it at all? Do you feel like production had anything to do with it? I certainly do. I also think a lot of got to do with this too. They trying to free up that budget because Kenya is the most expensive hoe right now in that season. So they trying to free that budget up, you know, to get a few more housewives that's on the, you know, the cheaper level. Okay. You know, they trying to save them ducats. They trying to get on a cheaper level because Kenya costs money. And they definitely trying to knock that budget out, if you personally ask me. But yeah, what you guys think about that? Do you feel like Kenya should have left it alone or what? Yeah, girl. And Portia, Portia, you flip-flopping. Cynthia, you flip-flopping. Yeah, that's it, you guys. Y'all make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Y'all drop in the comments. Tell me what you feel about the episode. I'll catch y'all hoes later. Deuces.